Welcome to the Genesis of the Doctor podcast, where we're taking a journey through the time and space of the history of Doctor Who. I'm Joy,
And I'm Triss.
and for today's episode, we're watching the third, fourth, and fifth serials of season 18 with Full Circle, State of Decay, and Warriors Gate, which are the E-Space Trilogy of stories. I definitely think I liked these three more than the first two of the season.
I agree. I think there was a lot more going on in these in terms of like a greater connection between them with E-Space, and there was a lot of interesting ideas here. But it's also kind of funny because the presentation of E-Space feels like it's going to take longer to deal with.
Yeah. And they kind of just do it like in the last 5 minutes of Warriors Gate. They just get out of there.
Yeah, they kind of just resolve it in the last 5 minutes of the final story here. Whereas like the entire time they're like trying to figure it out, learn more about it, and find a way back out of E-Space. But
Yeah.
we'll have more to say on that specifically once we're talking about Warriors Gate. We've got quite a bit to go through here.
Yeah. Full Circle is the first one, and I feel like it's kind of like the most basic one, where it could just easily be like a regular story on
Uh-huh.
a random alien planet. I still liked it though.
It was an interesting story. I definitely think it being in E-Space is how they explained away the abnormalities of evolution going on there.
Yeah.
Um, I like how technically Adric's not human. Technically, Adric is an evolved spider or an evolved marshman, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah. And that gives him like hyper healing capabilities.
Which is very, very interesting.
Yeah. I like how at the start though the doctor mentions that he wants to go meet up with Leela and Andred and the other K9. It's nice to have that little connection there.
hmm
And then Romana is pouting because she doesn't want to go back to Gallifrey, which is interesting.
I actually really likes that touch because I think it shows how much she's changed as a character since
Yeah.
since regenerating, but also since she first appeared in the TARDIS. I mean, she was there in her eyes as like a mission from the president himself, which not
Yeah.
actually, it was from the White Guardian. But I think it shows a lot of growth for her character while simultaneously making her appear very childish. They have the whole thing of she's like laying on her bed pouting about it,
Yeah.
and it's like they want you, the viewer, to think like she's being childish about it, but at the same time, it's also a lot of growth for her to be able to be childish about it, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Because it means she's not like any other Time Lord back on Gallifrey. She's not like the stuffy ones in the robes and the hats.
Yeah. I also kind of like how you can see like the Doctor's growth somewhat, in that he's saying that you can't fight Time Lords. He used
Yeah.
to do it once, only
Yep.
once, and that's like we've seen that. That was second Doctor was the one that realized he couldn't really fight them.
And and it didn't go very well.
Yep. But yeah, that also helps set up like her ending here, which is really the only setup they have for it. But
And they mentioned a few times it really is that she does not want to go back to Gallifrey.
yeah,
Realistically, it's because she wants to keep exploring the universe.
yeah, and then she just finds a different way to explore the universe without the Doctor.
Yeah. And we'll get into that.
Yeah. But yeah, like the whole sequence of them like going into E-Space was fun too. Like,
Yeah.
and I liked K9's line of like, no, I didn't say the TARDIS is working perfectly. I said it's working normally. That was a great line.
there were some really great lines between these stories. I 100% agree there. The humor in these and the character writing were pretty strong in all of these episodes
Yeah,
actually.
and you can really tell that they didn't like K9 because they beheaded K9 in this one.
They keep being mean to K9 in these stories, especially in the last one too. But yes, they
Yeah,
behead him here. They're able to repair him at least. But yeah, they beat up they beat up that prop.
he gets a lot of almost deaths, and then
Yeah.
and then they just kick him out at the end.
I think what confuses me most about this story is the spiders specifically. Um, like really like looking back on everything through this story and like the notes that I had, I understand the idea of the Marshmen evolving into the not quite humans, but the people that inhabit the Starliner. What I don't understand is how the spiders play into it, because then you have the whole weird sequence of like Romana gets bit by a spider, so then she's like mind controlled to
Yeah,
be able to like link up with the Marshmen. Like that doesn't quite add up.
yeah, it's a little weird. I guess you're supposed to think that like the getting bitten by a spider starts turning you into a marshman or something, and maybe that's how they rapidly evolve, so that they can just like make other things evolve into them or something. I don't know.
I guess
Yeah,
that would be the case of full circle, right? Of like if a person got bit by a spider, they would turn back into a marshman. And I guess the
yeah,
marshman, because we saw they were talking very early on about how there's like there's some sort of insect eggs in the fruit, and that ended up being the spiders. But what's
yeah,
laying the spider eggs in the fruit?
yeah. I don't know.
It has to come from somewhere. For a title called Full Circle, they do need to complete that circle, because right now it is just a linear line.
Yeah. Apparently, Tom Baker hated the line when they were talking about Full Circle, and he wanted to get it removed. And then they're like, "That's the title of the story. It can't be removed." He thought it was such awkward dialogue, so he didn't like it. But
it
yeah,
is kind of awkward because it doesn't actually come full circle.
yeah,
That
and
and I agree with him there, but I think instead of removing the line, they needed to explain it better.
yeah,
Because full circle would mean like, oh, like when I don't know, when these people die, their bodies decompose and like the spiders are born from that or something. That's the only way it
yeah.
would go full circle. Because it's not a circle otherwise.
I guess you're supposed to just think that it's saying like, the starship crashed, and then they killed all like this Marshmen killed the people there, and then they eventually evolved back into humans. So it's like sort of a circle because
Yeah.
they started with humans and then they became humans, I
Yeah.
guess. But it's complicated even in the story because like the the guy that dies at the beginning says to tell Dexter that we've come full circle, and then Dexter is dead
Yep.
by the time he even says it to anyone. So like Dexter doesn't even explain what it meant.
Nope.
And I find it kind of interesting how like the guy dies at the beginning, and then you have the Marsh child show up like right where he died. So you wonder if like is it supposed to be like he was reborn as a Marsh child or something? But then they
That's
don't really go into that.
yeah, that's what I was thinking at first too, but no. So yeah, there's a lot of like weird little inconsistencies there that like I like the ideas they put forth. I liked the twist that they're all the same technically.
Yeah,
Although that their cells wouldn't be identical even if they were evolution. There would be
yeah,
similarities, but I don't know. But I do think it needed to be explained a little bit better.
yeah,
Uh, I will say also, I don't think this gave a good first impression of Adric.
yeah. Not really.
He's not very good in this story.
He's kind of like the
He
most
gets
annoying person of the
yeah.
whatever the group of people. I forget what they're called.
He he he's kind of annoying and he gets like several people killed technically.
Yeah, gets the guy killed at the beginning. Gets more people killed towards the end.
Yeah. And there's like no real discussion of that at any point
Yeah,
or real acknowledgement of that. He kind of just carries on. He's a bit of a arrogant kid.
yeah. And then they also left Romana behind in the cave. He was
Yeah,
partially involved with that.
as he tries to figure out how to fly the TARDIS.
Yeah, you can kind of tell why Romana doesn't like him very much because she definitely doesn't seem to like him in the next stories either.
Mm-hmm.
I guess
Well,
maybe
I
she's
mean,
still angry that he left her behind and stuff.
probably a little bit. He does need to grow up, I think, if he's going to be
Yeah,
traveling with the Doctor, because I don't think the circumstances have been in his favor thus far. Granted, it's his own fault.
yeah,
Every problem he's been involved in so far is kind of his own fault.
yeah. I know he's with us for like about a season, so
Okay.
I guess we'll see how much he grows.
Yeah.
I know people don't really tend to like him as a character very much, so I don't know how much he does
Mm-hmm.
grow.
That's fair. Yeah, we'll see.
And I know from behind the scenes that basically the story was that when they were recording their first story, which was actually State of Decay, he gave Tom Baker some acting advice, and then Tom Baker just hated him from that point forward.
He's like 19 at this point. What
Yeah,
advice does he have to give?
he was like giving him saying something about doing a line differently or something, and then yeah, Tom Baker just didn't like him because it's a 19-year-old kid who's giving him advice, and he didn't like that.
I I can understand if it's a case of like depending on the situation, it's like hold on, it might feel better like this, but you still have to present it in like a right way because otherwise it's
Yeah,
condescending and overconfident. And yeah, when
yeah,
you were like the new person there, that's not a good first look. It's not like the Leela situation where she called him out on messing up.
yeah. I
It'd
will
be
say
it'd
that
be a
like
different story if that's what happened here, but that doesn't sound like it.
I think the people that have like told the story, I don't know if Matthew Waterhouse has told that story, so it might just be that like it's what Tom Baker has said is that he did that and stuff. So I don't know. It's like
Uh-huh.
you never know how trustworthy the information is coming from different people.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. It's a game of telephone.
Yeah. And then I know Lala Ward like was annoyed with him when he was I think like he wanted to go to lunch break in his costume and the costume designer was telling him not to, and then Lala Ward got very annoyed at him for like arguing with the costume designer and stuff like that. So she also didn't like him very quickly.
That's fair.
He seems like a very nice guy though, because I've been watching like the behind the scenes stuff, and like they had somebody like met up with him for a weekend like a few years ago, and then he seems like a very nice person. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just unfortunate. I guess he got off on the wrong foot with everyone here.
That's fair.
He is also, I think, like one of the first gay people to be a Doctor Who companion because he's gay in real
All
life.
right.
Technically, I guess I think Harry Sullivan was bisexual, or Ian Marter was, but he wasn't out at any point in his life. Well, not publicly out, I
Right.
should say. Then yeah, Matthew Waterhouse is married these days.
Huh. Well, good for him.
But back on the story, I did kind of like the twist of like nobody knows how to fly it, and that's the big problem that they have
Hmm.
in the manuals. It tells them everything about how to fix it, but there's nothing there about how to pilot it.
That's true. And then the doctor kind of very quickly just tells him how to do it, and we'll
Yeah,
see what happens.
apparently in the original script, like the whole fourth episode was supposed to be about trying to learn how to fly it, and then
Hmm.
they had to change it for production reasons or something. So then it just became like two lines of dialogue at the end.
Hmm.
But it was supposed to be like all of episode four was about the ship taking off, and then yeah, it just ended up being like the last 5 minutes. I also loved
I
the
think.
the
Yeah.
Doctor's anger towards the Deciders was great as well.
Yeah,
Not
I really liked. I really liked a lot of like the character writing here, and I really do like how the situation as a whole got resolved.
yeah, I love the line of "not an alibi, Deciders" when he's
Hmm.
arguing with them. And then they also say that you understand a great deal, Doctor. He says true, but not everything. And then that's certainly true. A lot of great lines.
Hmm. I Are there any behind the scenes stories of what it was like for the scenes of the Marshmen coming out of the marsh in costume? Because I feel like that would be even more difficult than like the Sea Devils one back in the day.
Not that I know of. I'm not sure if there's any stories about that.
Okay.
The one fun behind the scene detail is that is written by the youngest writer who has ever written an episode of Doctor Who, where he turned
Okay.
18 in the middle of production.
Oh wow. Okay.
His name's
That's
Andrew
kind of
Smith.
cool.
Yeah, apparently he had been like sending scripts into the last couple uh script editors, and then the new script editor came in and thought like the scripts that they had were really good, so he just called him up and said, "Hey, write an episode for us."
That's really, yeah, that's actually really cool to be honest, because he then wrote the introduction of a new companion.
Yeah,
Imagine that at 17.
I think he was only a writer for a few years, and then he went to become a police officer instead. And then I think he does
Oh,
Big
all
Finish
right.
now, or he's done like a
Okay,
few
that's
Big
kind of
Finish
cool.
stories.
So he still
But
does some writing.
yeah, yeah, I liked Full Circle. I do think it's definitely a bit more basic than the other two of the E-Space Trilogy for sure, but it's a fun time.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I agree.
I guess if you don't have much else, we can move on to State of Decay.
Yeah, I'm good for that.
Adric stows away on the TARDIS at the end, and then she's
Which
just
was
there.
stupid. Which was
Yeah,
very stupid for him to do because the first thing he decides to do after revealing himself is try to find the doctor anyway. So it's like, so what was
yeah.
the point of stowing away?
And he just wanders out into the village and gets caught there. And then they don't even know that he's there until like towards the end of the story, which is fun.
Like not even K9 knew.
Yeah, but I like how Romana and the Doctor are like in like episode 3. They're talking to the vampires and like, "What do you mean a boy? It's just the two of us here." That's how they find out Adric followed them.
Yeah.
I,
I
I,
don't
I
know. I think there could have been a better way for him to join them.
yeah, especially because at the end of this one they say they're going to take him home, and then they end up not doing that. And then you just don't worry about it.
The doctor decides he wants to take this boy to see the world.
Yeah. I definitely quite enjoyed State of Decay. It's definitely kind of like a very basic vampire story, but because it's a basic vampire story in Doctor Who, that makes it interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to be honest. And like, we haven't had this before, and I mean, having modern Doctor Who stories that play with the idea of vampires, but they're not actually vampires. I did not know we were
Yeah,
actually going to get a story involving real vampires at some point in the classics.
yeah.
I did not see that coming.
It's like in Modern Who, they always have to explain like it's actually an alien species or something, and this is just like, no, they're just vampires. I mean, they are an alien species, but they're just vampires.
Hmm.
Well, I guess like the king vampire is like an alien species, and then the vampires we actually deal with are just humans, I guess, who became vampires.
I guess that bit is a little confusing, right? Like exactly how they became vampires. I don't
Yeah,
think they went into exactly how they became. We know who they serve, and we know he turned them into vampires, but how? Like,
yeah,
presuming the
because
vampire was already trapped on this planet, and then they got stuck here with their rocket, with their ship. Did they just happen across him and awaken him, and he made them vampires?
I think
Even though the whole point is they're trying to wake him?
if I remember correctly, I think they said that like the vampires took the ship here. So I think like the vampire was like on the ship with them maybe, and like forced them to take them there. Maybe they were like the vampire slaves or something.
Huh.
Because like
Okay.
they established that like the vampire escaped to E-Space
Yeah.
after having fought Time Lord. So I assume it probably came like with the ship or something, and like the ship was how it got here maybe. Because otherwise, like, how did an Earth ship get into E-Space? Unless
Yeah.
like
Well, I
something
mean,
was pulling it there.
I feel like that keeps happening. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair.
Because it's actually Earthlings in this story too, and it's interesting because you wouldn't expect that.
It's a bunch of other people getting stuck in E-space and living out lives because of it.
Yeah, yeah. Like the vampires we had here were people from that ship, the original,
Mm-hmm.
original people from the ship, and then everybody else is the descendants of the other people from the ship. I definitely liked like the performance of the vampires though, where they do like fun choreography and everything.
They did great at being creepy.
Yeah. And I was watching the commentary track, and they had one of the woman that was one of the vampires, and she talked about how like they very specially choreographed everything so they would make sure that they were moving together at the same time and everything like that. And
That's
it really,
pretty good. I wonder how many takes some of those took.
yeah, probably a lot, I would assume. She was saying that especially when like they were all having to wake up on time with timing, like that one was definitely very difficult for them to get right. When Romana's telling them to wake up and then they have to open their eyes at the specific moment in time.
Yeah, the timing, the choreography, the way they move, even like their makeup is really good. Although
Yeah.
I will say, I'm not a fan of the fact that the thumbnail image on the Classics YouTube channel is from like one of the last shots of the episode.
Yeah, they like to spoil stuff in those, I
They
find.
really do.
Like there was the Invasion of Time, you don't even know it's a Centauran story until like episode 5, but they put in a Centauran on it. So you know. This one was apparently a favorite story of both Lala Word and Matthew Waterhouse, though. And it was also the first one that Matthew Waterhouse filmed as well.
Okay, that's interesting. I guess that makes sense because he's also not in it too much. There's a
Yeah,
lot of scenes without him, and they're very disconnected. Like his first scene is like 10 minutes into the episode.
yeah. And I think they filmed. This one was the second in the season that they filmed, and then they did Meglos, and then they did Full Circle, and then they went in order from there. Well, then they did Warriors Gate, and then went in order. See, he was talking about how it was weird where they called him in for this story, and then the next story they filmed didn't even have him, so he just had to wait until the next one.
That's a little awkward for scheduling, I imagine.
Yeah. And then this one was also where Tom Baker and Lala Ward were not on speaking terms at all. But then, like, shortly
That's
after this, they got together, I think.
okay. Got back together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they were
Okay.
they were together before, like, in season 17, they were together, and then they broke up, and then they were broken up until after this story.
Okay.
If you look closely, you'll notice that Tom Baker never looks Lala Ward in the eyes at any point, and that's how you know he's not getting along with her.
Man, I want to rewatch this one now just to like try to catch a lot of the little things like that.
Yeah, because normally when he's talking to her, he'll be looking like off into the distance instead of looking at her, and that's how you know.
God. That's petty.
Yeah,
Well, I guess a mix of petty and also just like feeling awkward in general, but just, man,
yeah.
a
The
little
behind the scenes
ridiculous.
stories were funny that like when they did rehearsals, they would like stand on the opposite ends of the rooms until they had to go together to do their lines. So everybody was just like, this is super awkward. And then apparently when she announced that she was leaving, everyone was like, oh, that makes sense. And then she's like, she also announced that she's getting married to him at the same time. And they're like, oh, that doesn't make sense. They were very
Wow,
confused
so
about that
so
part.
yeah, so they got back together and decided to get married. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
sure. Um I will say though, I don't know if the story was designed around this fact or not, but this these three stories, yes, but definitely this one and Warriors Gate feel like they give Romana more to do on her own. Like she's becoming more of her own Time Lord that can stand alongside the Doctor, as opposed to just being a companion. Um,
Yeah.
she really starts getting moments. In general, they happen, but I feel like these two stories in particular have a lot that really highlight how, as a Time Lord, she has the capabilities of doing exactly what the Doctor does. And we see them really start playing with that in Warriors Gate even more. But
Yeah.
I really started to notice it here in State of Decay.
Yeah. It's kind of unfortunate that comes like so late into her time, but
Yeah.
it
Like I
helps
said,
establish
she
that
always
like
had little moments, but they're more consistent now.
yeah. I guess it helps establish that, like, when she leaves, she'll be able to help out the people here pretty well because we see how capable she is. We get a bit of her backstory too, where she's talking about how she worked like in, I forget exactly what
Like
it
the
was, but like in
archives,
the library or
basically.
archives. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they just have the funny exchange of like, oh, it just so happens that Type 40 TARDISes are the ones that would have the records. And he's like, Romana, that's the one I have. Oh, great. And then in that scene where when Lagarde like opens the door and the Fourth Doctor is acting like he was actually hit by the door, Tom Baker actually was hit by the door. So that wasn't
Oh,
acting. He was actually dazed from being hit by the door there.
damn. I mean, yeah, it opens pretty hard on him,
Yeah.
so.
He actually got hit in the head by it and just very stumbled
Oh,
out the door there.
physical comedy, except it wasn't intentional.
Yeah. And then another behind the scenes detail is that Tarek was played by Thane Bettany, who is the father of Paul Bettany, who is in the MCU as
Oh,
Vision. People would recognize it,
okay.
his son. And then when they were recording this, Tom and Baker and Lalla Ward weren't getting along, but then they got married when episode 4 was airing in December of that year. So I think Tom Baker was still filming this season at that point, but obviously Lalla Ward wasn't.
Mhm. Well, yeah, because there's still like quite a bit to do there.
Yeah. At this point, they would take like several weeks off between filming episodes for the pre-production and everything.
Mhm.
So yeah, he was still filming by then.
So one thing I have written down here, and this is kind of funny to me. One of the first shots of this episode is the castle, which is very clearly a rusted spaceship, and
Yeah,
I want to know how intentional they wanted it to be from the get-go, because to me it reads like they tried to hide it but very poorly, because it
yeah,
almost feels like the way it's presented in the story, learning that the palace is the ship feels like a twist. And they're like, oh, look at all the stuff that's still here. And like the thrones, no, these are like the captain seats. And look, we can get into other parts of the ship from here. But I'm like, every time they show that palace, it looks like a rusted spaceship. Like,
yeah.
pretty obviously such.
I guess that's a point of like the scriptwriter probably wanted to be a twist, and then the set or like the prop designers were like, oh well, it's a spaceship, so we're just going to design a spaceship.
Yeah, yeah. It's just one of those like silly things.
Yeah,
Um, I also, speaking of the ship, have the a point to make of how they quote unquote save the day, how they stop the Great Vampire, and they launch a scout ship straight up and have it crash back down right in front of them, and
yeah,
there's no explosion. There's no risk to anything other than it bursting through the ground to also hurt the Great Vampire, who we only see the hand of. How very convenient that it didn't kill anyone else.
yeah. You would think they'd be like, oh, we should probably run, but no, they just don't worry about it.
Like they're in the same room.
Yeah, I guess you're supposed to think that like under the thin layer of the ground, there's just like a whole cavern down there. So I guess the explosion was just down there instead.
I
But then
guess.
that would probably shake like the whole cave anyways, but then it doesn't.
Yeah, like there should be some sort of disaster from that happening, and there really wasn't.
Yeah. I did really like the effect of like the vampires aging to death at the end though.
Mm,
That was really good.
that was well done. That was well done.
Especially because like at this point they don't have like special effect. They don't have like computer
No,
effects or
exactly.
anything.
So that's
That's all
like
makeup.
3 different stages of makeup, which is really cool, actually.
Yeah, and they filmed it by like just having them stand there, and then they had to run off to get new makeup, and then they had to go stand there again, and then they had to run off and do it again.
It's kind of gruesome for this time for Doctor Who.
Yeah,
Like it's a bit more than you would think you would see from this.
yeah,
Uh, the other big note that I have here that I want to make sure to touch upon. For a genius, Adric has a pretty stupid plan.
yeah,
Like he kind of just vents out anger at Romana, which could be taken as like earnest, and this is only his first ship as a companion. But then it's like, no, no, that was all pretend, so I could rescue you. Oh, what was your plan to rescue her? I've got a knife.
Yeah.
That's your plan. And you didn't pick any of the times you were behind them to use it. You waited for when they were in front of you, looking at you, to pull it out so they could immediately take it away from you?
Yeah.
That was your plan?
You can definitely feel that he's not like a genius in a general sense.
No. He's a genius
He's
with numbers, I
yeah.
think.
They call him a mathematical genius, but he's definitely not
Yeah.
smart in a general sense.
I would, yeah, mathematical is kind of it, I would say.
And then even
Because
mathematical doesn't
yeesh.
really come into play in any of these stories yet.
No, not really.
It's just
And it's kind of unfortunate because again, it's making rough first impressions.
yeah.
You know, we've now had
Eh,
3 stories with him. Sure, they're filmed out of order, but this is our second story with him, and it's still not another good impression.
Yeah.
I mean, he
I
almost became a
know
vampire, which is kind of cool, but he did not.
yeah. I know Adric was definite like John Nathan Turner's idea for a companion was Adric. And then
Hmm.
I think the Christopher Bidmead wanted to make him a mathematical genius, but I guess it just didn't really come into play that much. I think it was his idea
Guess.
to make him mathematical genius, and then John Nathan Turner's idea was that he was like artful dodger type character, who he's supposed to be like.
I guess, yeah.
And then this is also the start of when you start getting characters who are just in costumes the whole time, because Adric is mostly just always going to be in his pajamas for like all of his stories. Like it's not even a great costume.
It's not a good costume. I get it's supposed to look like a costume from the spaceship, but even that like the star pin that he has to show he's like a mathematical genius also just looks really cheap.
Yeah, and I know I've been watching like the Doctor Who cast reacting to these stories, and then Janet Fielding, who is she plays Tegan, who will be coming in later. She keeps complaining in every story that Lalla Ward gets different costumes in every episode because they never got different costumes.
I see. I
It's very
really
funny
like
that
that
she's
she's been getting different costumes, by the way. She's had some really good costumes.
yeah. Janet Fielding's just so angry though because like she wanted to get different costumes every time, and John Nathan Turner kept saying no, and then Lalla Ward's here getting a new costume every story. It's funny.
She has had some very good costumes, but it is
Yeah,
very funny to go from someone constantly changing costumes to what everyone else constantly has.
yeah. Because yeah, I think Tegan and Nissa are also basically just in one costume the whole time they're there,
Hmm.
maybe two.
Unfortunate.
I think that's about all I had on State of Decay though. I guess it does have some
Yeah,
interesting like Rassilon lore in it though. I like that
it
because
does. I do like that. I do like how there's some history of Time Lords coming into play here, and there's a level of connection between them and E-Space in the first place, which you think maybe that's just how they ended up here in the first place.
yeah,
Um, I I kind of wish it went a little more into uh what are these people gonna do now that they got rid of the vampires? Are they gonna restore life to what it should be? Are they gonna reclaim the knowledge they should have? Are they gonna learn how to get out of E-Space themselves because they're not supposed to be here? Like, what else is
yeah.
gonna happen?
Definitely leave that all on a cliffhanger for sure.
Yeah, they do.
The Doctor always just tries to get out of there as quick as he can. He doesn't really care.
Yep. He really didn't want to stay around for full circle either.
Yeah, they had to convince him to help him learn
He
how
was
to
like,
fly
"What,
the ship.
me?" And then they want him to become a decider.
I also find it so funny that like the record of Rassilon is like punch cards and it gives you receipt paper. And that's how you read it all. That's the record instead of having it just like programmed into the TARDIS or something.
Yep.
But then we can move on to Warriors Gate, which is definitely a very weird story, but like the good kind of weird story, I would say.
Yeah, I agree.
it's kind of like a confusing thing to get your wrap your head around, like everything that's going on, but like in an endearing way, you know?
Hmm. They purposely tried to make this one very convoluted and obtuse, but like also
Yeah,
tried to make sure people can understand what's going on. But it's
yeah,
okay if you can't. Kind of presentation, which is more than what they usually do, I think.
yeah. And I would say most of these stories also have like very good like just production design and like the
Yeah.
camera work. This one in
Yeah,
particular
I
had like a
agree.
lot of fun camera angles. I know
Yeah.
the director of this one got fired halfway through production because he was doing like
Oh.
all these complicated uh shots that like you're not supposed to do. Like when they have like the long panning shot at the beginning, they have the
Yeah.
camera pan up and then it shows like the roof of the building, and they're not supposed
Oh.
to shoot off of the set like that. But it,
Yeah.
you know, it looks like the roof of the starship, but like it's actually like the roof of the building, and then he got in big trouble on that. So they fired him halfway through production, and then they realized he didn't have enough notes for them to actually get somebody else to finish it, so they just brought him back.
Oh my god. That's messy.
He didn't even leave the room because he was like, I know they're gonna have to call me back, so he just like sat around for half an hour, and then they're like, hey, do you want to come back and
Sat
finish it?
there, crossed his legs, crossed his arms. You think?
Yeah,
So, oh, you're gonna fire me? Really? You think?
yeah.
You sure about that?
And then I know
God.
there was also the set for the starship was actually they decided it wasn't safe for people to be walking around on it as much. So like the reason why you only see like a bunch of people on like the upper parts of the ship in the first story is because they weren't allowed to film with more than like two people on it afterwards. So
Wow.
yeah, there was because it was
That's why we
decided that
barely ever see that again. Okay.
it wasn't stable enough for like five people to be standing on it, so they could only put like one or two people on it at a time after the first
I
story.
see. I think they got around that pretty well because it feels pretty natural for why people are in different areas.
Yeah,
Um, this episode or this story especially though, I was watching like all three of these stories like on my TV in my living room, and every now and then my husband would come by and like catch glimpses of certain scenes, and it has only been during these three stories that he has commented on how 80s this feels. Like, like
yeah,
obviously yes, like this is now in the 1980s, but something about the presentation of these stories, like they are really leaning into that.
yeah.
The one
I
that the one that he especially pointed out with that was I think it was in episode 2 when the guys are returning to the spaceship for the first time, and one of them's like on the phone. He's like, "Okay, shut the door." Shuts in front of him. Once I've passed through, and they open it again. Like
yeah,
it's very comical, but it's also overacted in a way that I guess
yeah,
is heavily associated with the 80s.
yeah. I also quite liked the Therals in this story. It,
Yeah, the time travel fairies.
yeah, and they did great like makeup work on them too, where
Yeah, they did. They did.
they look really good as like lying people,
Hmm.
and then they're just like weird and confusing, and it's great how confusing they are as like characters and how they have like these weird powers that you don't fully understand. They can just walk through the mirror, and then it's just not exactly explained how that works, but it does.
Yeah, they're like these beings that have like a natural state of time travel, which is very intriguing.
The thing I was thinking about watching these stories was that you could make a strong argument that the Timeless Child is from E-Space, because like between
Yeah,
like the rapidly evolving creatures in Full Circle and then like the Therals here, like you basically have everything you need to make a Time Lord. You just like merge them together and you get a Time Lord.
that's true. And that also kind of fits into what we had in Flux, where the doctor meets Tecteun, and she's like, "Oh, but the other side of the wormhole I found you at is in that other universe. Well, that other universe there that we're gonna jump to or collide with or whatever her real plan was, could very much actually be End Space and E Space."
Yeah, because in that one too, they also like they show the shot of like division being between two universes, and they show that by having the two universes being different colors. That's what they
Yep.
do here. Is
Yep.
that
That's what they
E-Space is
do
green.
here, and where we are in Warriors Gate kind of feels like a space between the two of them as well.
Yeah,
So
you could definitely make
I
the
kind of
argument
wish they
that,
did go that route. That would have been cool.
yeah, because like the full circle creatures, it's like you have rapid evolution and you have rapid healing. You put those two together and you
hmm
get regeneration. There you go.
It it would also retroactively kind of help explain the fact that like the Doctor himself never really had to deal with any abnormalities while in E-Space, but
Yeah,
like Romana did, and K9 did.
yeah,
Like the Doctor was kind of just okay the whole time, and you can retroactively explain that as well. Yeah, the Doctor's from here.
yeah. And like even just like the gate in this story is like s- sort of reminiscent of like the gate that Timeless Child was found at. Not exactly the same,
Yeah,
but it's reminiscent.
it's like a worm. Yeah, it's a bit simpler than a wormhole, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. K9 gets it in this story too, where
Oh my
you know,
god, they throw him! They throw
yeah,
K9 at
they
one
just they
point!
throw him around, and then his memory wafers are destroyed, so then he's confused for the whole story.
This poor little guy is just going through it all.
And then they very briefly say that like the memory wafers that the Doctor finds could be given to him, but only if he's on the other side of the mirror. So that's why he kind of has
Yeah,
to stay behind. But then in his
yeah.
goodbye scene, they don't really bring that up, so you just have to remember.
Yeah, they don't bring that up, nor do they let him say goodbye to the Doctor.
Yeah,
Which
even
is very
Gets
unfortunate.
Romana doesn't really get a good goodbye either. It's just a very quick, "I'm staying." Okay, bye.
I appreciate that something was said, but yeah, I would have liked to see, I don't know, when they learned about the slaves, her talking about wanting to stay and help them, and the Doctor being like, "What do you mean? We can't do that. We have to go back. We have to leave E-Space." Like
Yeah,
something earlier in the episode posing that idea, and then kind of them both going through it throughout the episode, and then eventually landing on "You're staying, aren't you?" kind of thing.
yeah,
I think it would have been nice to have some build up to that, because I think it would have done wonders for character development. Because it is really good that she chooses to, and she gives Adric the same exact orders that the Doctor gave her. Once again, further solidifying how pretty much she is as good as him at this point.
yeah,
She is as capable as him. But there, while it is really good for her character development, it also is very suddenly there.
yeah. It's a shame that like we kind of started building up the idea she didn't want to go back to Gallifrey, but then they don't really build up her goodbye in this story. They just build
Yeah,
it up elsewhere.
I guess they
Like,
built it up as a, well, to avoid going back to Gallifrey. She'll do this.
yeah,
It's like, well, yeah, I guess.
she'll stay here because Gallifrey can't really get her here, I
Yeah.
guess.
If they really want to, they can send a TARDIS after her.
Yeah. Although then it's funny that like in all the expanded universe material, she's president of Gallifrey, so she goes back there at some point.
Yeah, she goes back at some point. Well, I mean, K9 did say they could build their own TARDIS. So,
Yeah, I think there is like a seventh Doctor story where he goes back to E-Space and then he finds Romana and then brings her home. Is what
hmm,
happens. I think it's a book or
okay.
something where they do that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
she does go on to become the president of Gallifrey. There's a lot of like conflicting stories about how and for how long and how that reign goes, but I have heard
yeah,
varying that she becomes one of the best presidents of Gallifrey, uh, and even has activity in the Time War. But then
yeah.
Rassilon. So
I think she like she's president at the beginning of the Time War, and then she steps down to run like the Celestial Intervention Agency or whatever it's called,
yeah, the CIA. Yeah,
and then somebody else replaces her as president, and then at some point Rassilon is revived to
yeah.
lead them.
I wish modern Doctor Who talked about Romana when talking about like the grief and the loss of the Time Lords.
Yeah, it would definitely be nice to have the Doctor talking about her. I guess the issue
Like,
ultimately is that like the TV show hasn't ever established that she came back. Like expanded
mhm,
universe material says she was president, but the TV show itself never really said that.
mhm.
So as far as the Time War is concerned, in the TV show canon, we don't necessarily know that she came back for it.
So
I
then, I
guess.
don't know, trap the Doctor in E-Space and he finds her again, another Time Lord, and she's not
Yeah.
evil! Woohoo! Finally!
Yeah.
Like, do that then. Although now it's more of a case of we need the show to come back and get stable before they start going revisiting old ideas like that.
Yeah. And I feel like if they did bring her back, they'd probably just have her start as a new actor because
Yeah.
Lala Ward lives in Hong Kong now, I think, so it wouldn't really be possible to just bring her back for a
Okay.
regeneration scene.
Yeah.
That'd be very difficult. Although she does do Big Finish, so you could have her do a voiceover or something.
Yeah, some sort of voice.
I also quite liked like the humans in the story, especially like the two idiots. They were so fun.
The two idiots were very funny. I really liked the fact that the captain of the ship was very clearly struggling to get everybody to follow orders because everyone
Yeah,
was kind of just so sick of it, either of him or of their mission. Like nobody was taking things that seriously.
yeah. And apparently, the captain of the ship, one of the actors considered for him, was Derek Jacobi, which would have been very funny.
Oh, that would have been something.
Would have been funny if he did that and then also came back as the master later on.
Yeah.
I also loved when
It-
he's fighting with the doctor and he actually tries to use the scarf to choke him. I'm like, nobody ever thinks to do that.
no.
It's very smart to do that, but nobody else ever does it.
Yeah, yeah. It is smart. No one else has tried it. But also, this is kind of one of the first like actually clearly bloodthirsty people that the Doctor really deals with. That
Yeah,
isn't doing some sort of like honor bound fight or it doesn't have some other ulterior motive. This guy is just kind of losing it and clearly thinks terribly of other people.
yeah,
So murder is clearly no problem for him. I mean, he is a slave trader, so he gets
yeah.
what's coming to him, but still.
They're slave traders, and their only concern is getting out of. I forget what they actually called this place, but like the void here,
Yeah, this the
the
void.
the void between universes.
Mm-hmm.
Then you find out that the issue is also that their ship is super heavy because it has to be made out of star alloy in order to keep the ferals inside.
Yeah. This episode also has quite the gruesome death of one of the Pharaohs murdering one of the ship crew, the
Yeah,
one who's been murdering the Tharals. But you like watch him get like electrocuted to death, and he like falls back with his eyes open. Like
yeah,
they
it's
made
brutal.
that one quite the shocking, no pun intended, death.
And I remember that like even in modern people like they tell actors to close their eyes when they die. Like
Yeah.
I know Arthur Doverill when he died as Rory in like the Silurian episode. Originally, they
Hmm.
filmed it with his eyes open when he died, and then they had to refilm it with his eyes closed because they weren't allowed to do something that
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
And then
Age
here they have
ratings
their
and all
eyes
that.
open.
Yeah. No,
Definitely
that
probably
that's
got
what was so surprising to me. I'm like, damn, like that makes it feel a lot darker.
yeah. They definitely probably got complaints over that. I would assume.
Probably.
And then all the humans just blow themselves up at the end by trying to blow up the mirror, and it doesn't work.
I love how like they become so fixated on the mirror as their way out, and the Doctor's like, no, it's not your way out. It just reflects what's here. You're gonna have the
Yeah.
same problem.
Yep. And then they don't learn, so they just try to use a bigger gun to blow it up, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But I did love how like when you go through the mirrors and then it's like black and white photographs and stuff. Like it's a fun artistic element to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also like the when they're filming like the dining hall and then they're jumping between them and you see like
Yeah.
the food on the table and then it jumps forward and then it's you know deserted and everything. Like that was like
Yeah.
very good filming.
Yeah.
I loved like the choices there.
Yeah, no, that was like very well done. The way they played with time this story to really convey the ideas, very very strong. They
Yeah,
they did a great job with the Tharls, making that give a good visual depiction of how time works for them
yeah.
and jumping between time and all that.
And I really loved how, like, from the perspective of the humans, like the Therals and the Doctor are these like weird supernatural entities that are just like jumping around in time and stuff. You know, that's
Yeah,
so fun.
it is. It is. I wish there was a little bit more conversation between the Doctor and Birok and just the Tharals in general about how the Tharals used to be the slave owners.
Yeah, it's very
Um,
briefly shown, and then they just move on from it.
yeah, they just move on from it, and I don't like that they just moved on from it because they make it they present it in a way where it's like, oh, I guess what goes around comes around, but we're not going to stand for this anymore, we're going to revolt. It's like, okay, but if you were the slave owners originally and then the slaves revolted and now you were the slaves, this feels like an endless cycle unless
Yeah,
something gets done. Like, yeah, you should go free all the other Therals, but you have to have some sort of conversation to prevent this from just repeating the cycle. And I'm
yeah. I guess
surprised the Doctor didn't have anything to say about that.
I guess the vague implication is that since Romana stays behind, then she'll make sure that it doesn't
Yeah.
just become a cycle.
It becomes about freedom instead of that. Yeah. Yeah.
Because she'll be their Time Lord. She'll make sure everything goes well.
Yeah. I do like that. I like how they kind of they bestow it like a title for her instead of just
Yeah,
who she is. I really do like that because I think she's deserving of that.
yeah. Yeah, I didn't have much else on the story itself.
Yeah, I think that covers everything I had.
But then, yeah, we're saying goodbye to both Romana and K9 here, and I'll definitely miss them. They're both great.
I will miss them. Yeah. I will say this Romana really grew on me. I know at
Yeah,
first I was saying I preferred Romana 1 over Romana 2. Um I liked her personality a little bit more, the way she kind of handled the role. But I think Lala Ward really grew into the role. And I think she
yeah,
ended up bringing like this really great balance to the character. Like she has overcome her arrogance, and now she's more concerned about essentially following the role that the Doctor fills to show that he's not the only Time Lord that is like this. You know, anyone can be like the Doctor.
yeah. And now that I think about it, I guess they kind of mirrored like the Doctors, like the
Yeah.
first Doctor into like later Doctors. You know, it's a very similar sort of character development that Romana gets, where
Yes.
she's starts off as a Time Lord and doesn't really fully care about like everyone, but then she starts to grow into like really loving the universe as a whole.
Hmm. And
It's a very
she
good
didn't,
gradual
not
story there.
not wanting to interfere, not wanting to care too much about the lives of people, but then very much becomes, oh, we can't just leave them, and really
Yeah,
like wanting to help. Like she really grows into that role really really well, and because she's also a Time Lord, it plays out far better than it would for any other companion because she actually has the capability to do these things.
yeah. And I definitely think like Lala Ward and Tom Baker, when they're getting along well, it really elevates the stories
Yeah,
quite a
I
bit.
agree.
Unfortunately, they're not
Definitely
always getting
agree.
along well, but when they are getting along well, it really helps sell like the relationship between the characters. They're a great duo, or a trio
Yeah.
if you add K9.
I really do love K9. I love how I think K9 got to do a lot more with the Doctor and Romana rather than with Leela. Um
Yeah,
and I really really like the dynamic they have with K9. He's adorable and he's very silly. While the previous season he was a lot more sassy in his line deliveries. I really am glad they got the previous voice actor back for him for this one because
yeah,
just the deadpan delivery he has, the very computer sounding delivery, really makes it funnier, like
Yeah.
whether it's intentional or not. So it was great having that. It's a shame that he keeps getting beaten up this season, but
Yeah.
I am happy that he stays with Romana because I think the two of them combined also make it for a really good pairing that could pretty much replicate anything the Doctor could do.
Yeah. And then, John Leeson comes back as K9 in the future. He does everything that K9 has ever been in has always been John Leeson except for season 17.
Yep.
And yeah, he's it. I'm definitely gonna miss both of them. K9 at least comes back in Who briefly, but
Yeah.
yeah, Romana's never mentioned.
Yeah, somehow K9 Mark III gets made and is given to Sarah Jane. And then Modern Who, she's old, she's had him for quite some time. So
Yeah,
then 10th Doctor makes K9 Mark IV for Sarah Jane. And he's only in a few stories of her show, but he
yeah.
has some good moments in her show as well.
The spin-off with Sarah Jane that was made between the fourth and fifth Doctors does have K9, so we will see that story still, I guess. And
Okay.
we'll be hitting that soon because we're just gonna watch that with the first story of the fifth Doctor is what we were thinking
Yeah.
because it's between the two seasons. And then technically he's in like one scene of the five Doctors because like when Sarah Jane gets kidnapped for that story, K9's with her, but then he doesn't go with her. Like he doesn't get kidnapped with her.
Mm-hmm.
He's left behind, unfortunately.
Unfortunate. They didn't want everyone to have to act alongside the dog.
Yeah, and he's also just difficult to film with, unfortunately,
Yeah.
because it's a lot of complicated stuff. Like technology's not really there for a character like K9 yet.
Yeah.
That's why in Star Wars they just have people inside of all of the
That's true.
machines at this point. Yeah, both of them do come back for Big Finish and stuff. There's a lot of K9 and Romana in Big Finish.
There's a lot of Romana stuff. Like we were talking about how, oh yeah, she becomes the president of Gallifrey at some point. There's a lot of like books and audiobooks and audio stories and
Yeah,
comics and all. Like she's in a lot of extended media. Who even getting like additional regenerations and fulfilling a lot of different roles.
yeah,
It makes me feel like once the show gets stable footing again, she's kind of a very top candidate for bringing a character's legacy back to the modern show
yeah,
because they've started bringing back a bunch of classic companions and they've touched upon a lot of them. I kind of feel like she's one of the highest ones left to revisit in that way.
yeah,
That they could easily do with a regeneration, I should say, because everyone
yeah.
else, they could only do so much depending on their age.
I know in the expanded universe stuff, Romana has there have been like four different versions of a third version of Romana, and they
Yeah.
don't really all necessarily line up with each other.
Oh, that fits with her first regeneration into Romana 2
Yeah, I know
being very strange.
in Big Finish, I think she regenerates at some point because I think Lala Ward just steps away from the role, and then Lala Ward wants to come back, so then they just undo the regeneration using time
Okay.
travel. So
Sure.
they do time travel to just have Romana the Second just not regenerate anymore. And I think there was like a Doctor Who escape room or something where they had a male Romana in it briefly. So
I
and that
mean
was like
that can
also implied to
happen,
be a third
yeah.
version.
So
That was also implied to be like her third incarnation. But yeah,
okay.
complicated expand universe stuff. But yeah, Big Finish has like they have a Gallifrey audio story, and that's largely about Romana and Leela and their two K9s as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like there's like I don't know like 10 series of that or something like that. So they've done a
Okay.
lot with them.
Yeah, they've done a lot.
I am
Fantastic
curious to see like
characters though.
the next characters coming up though, because I mean Tegan obviously came back in Who briefly.
Yep.
And I know a lot of people interpret Tegan and Nissa as maybe being more than friends. So
Yeah, I'm
that'll be
very
fun.
curious to see how accurate that actually is.
Yeah. Technically it's not canon because Power of the Doctor doesn't mention it, but other stuff has implied that maybe they get together at some point.
I mean, a lot of times happened since then. It's impossible. It's entirely possible they don't stay together.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess if we're done talking about that, there's been a bit of news, sort of, in that
Yeah.
according to Russell Tovey, The War Between Land and Sea is not coming out on Disney Plus until next year. So that's unfortunate because it was supposed to be this year at some point.
Yeah, who knows anymore, man? It's weird.
Yeah. So we've
Got
decided.
stuck in the back burner for way too long.
Yeah, we've decided that our episode on it, we're just going to release that a week after this one, just because it's already horribly out of date. Because
It's already pretty outdated, yeah.
in that episode, I remember we were talking about like what we hoped this would mean for the characters in the future under possibly Russell T Davis or possibly a different showrunner. And now, well, we don't know like anything about that. So
That's what happens when we recorded it when it finished airing in the UK in January.
yeah, we were hoping that they would just post it like on Disney Plus in like January, and then here we are half a year later.
More than that, yeah.
Yeah, so our episode on Warp and Land Sea will just go up a week after this one, and then we'll stick to our regular schedule for the Class Q episodes because that's been recorded for half a year now. So a week after this episode is the Warp and Land Sea episode, and then 2 weeks after this episode will be the regular podcast episode. I honestly don't really remember that much of what we said in that, other than briefly talking about like what we hope this means for Kate Lethbridge Stewart. I remember we talked about that.
And now we're just like, man, will they end up bringing back Kate Stewart? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? And if she does come back, it'll be like a very different feel.
Yeah, I think so.
Because I definitely feel like Unit was weirdly handled. I think in Russell T Davis's new seasons where Unit's not supposed to be good.
He tried turning Unit into Torchwood. Is basically what happened. And it worked in some ways and did not work in others.
Yeah. Like, Unit's supposed to be a morally gray organization, and then he definitely very much wanted them to be good people. And they're good people, but they do bad things. And they were... It's a bit messy, I feel.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. And then Doctor Circuit Breaker has been continuing. Out of the ones that have released so far, I recommend The Deadliest Weapon, the audiobook. That's definitely the best one so far. That came out last week. And that one does a weird thing where, because it's about a memory worm, it's actually the fugitive doctor stuck in a memory of hers. So it's not really a Circuit Breaker story, other than they have like flash forwards of like Osgood telling her to wake up because she's stuck in her memories.
Right.
So it's technically just telling a completely different story with flash forwards.
But memory worms are for erasing memories.
Well, in this they established that the memory worms we have seen have always been like the pupal stage of it, and then the one that's in this it has gone through a chrysalis and is now a moth of some kind. So it works differently. Because yeah, they briefly say that like it's transformed, so it works differently now, and now it's just trying to feed off of your memories, I guess, or like feed off of the emotions that your memories give you.
I think they probably could have just used the dream crabs. It would have been about the same thing, those face hugger things, but all right. Yeah. Minor complaint aside.
That one does a good job at like showing the fugitive doctor being a bit more ruthless than the doctors we've seen, while also showing that like she has a good heart in her at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then they've on the Unit website, they've kind of implied that the sonic screwdriver that she's going to get is going to be made by Unit, and they're just going to give it to her without really asking her if she wants it. So it kind of explains why it...
Okay, yeah.
That tells you why it doesn't really make sense with the timeline all that well.
Mm-hmm. They're used to her having one, so they make her one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They even explicitly say, like, it makes sense that she doesn't have one, because we know that the second Doctor is the first time we've ever seen a doctor using one. So
Mhm.
it makes sense she doesn't have one because she's from before that. They explicitly say that. And then, yeah, it's just Osgood's like, we noticed that she doesn't have one, and the doctor normally has one, so we're just going to make her one. And that's your explanation.
Oh, you know, not to jump away from Circuit Breaker, but the discussion of Unit did remind me when I was going through Romana's wiki page, just kind of like catching up on a whole bunch of different information about her. I noticed that Romana was included in the various list of companions that are referenced in the Black Archive in the 50th anniversary, where the implication is that every companion at some point gets taken to the Black Archive to record their time with the Doctor before having their memories erased when they leave. I
Yeah.
don't think it makes any sense for them to do that with Romana. She's another Time Lord.
Yeah.
Like, how
Most
dare you?
There's a lot of companions that really don't make sense to say that they were at the Black Archive at some point because like some of them never even went to like modern day Earth.
Yeah,
like
that's also true.
like Stephen Taylor came from the future and then left in the future, and I'm pretty sure he was also mentioned there. And like Susan was
Yeah.
also mentioned in it as well. So it's like, yeah, they just put pictures of everyone and they didn't really worry about what that meant
Yeah, Susan can't
for like
even
the
be
lore.
there because Susan can't even be there because as we learn, like 10 years later, they him mentioning Susan in the Disney era was like the first time they learned of her too.
Yeah, that's true. I'm pretty sure there
So
was a
some
picture of her there though.
inconsistencies.
And then
Yeah.
although I mean, Susan also shows up in the Five Doctors. I guess I don't know if she meets the Brigadier in that. I guess she probably doesn't. But like the
We'll find out
Brigadier and
eventually.
Susan are in the same story. I know Lala Ward was asked if she wanted to be in the Five Doctors, and she said no because she didn't want to work with Tom Baker again. But then Tom Baker
Oh
didn't do
my
it
god.
anyways. So,
God, they
because yeah,
they sound complicated.
they got married in December of 1980, and I think their marriage lasted like 18 months. And then after their divorce, they've never seen each other ever again for any reason.
Damn. They have not been on good terms since then.
Yeah, I mean, apparently, allegedly, it was an amicable breakup, but considering they've avoided each other for 40 years, you do wonder if maybe there's stuff they're not saying about the breakup. But
Like they
yeah,
they haven't even like done any audio stories together
well, they do work together, but they don't meet each other because they're both filming from home, I think.
separately.
So,
Yeah.
because like Lala Ward lives in Hong Kong, so she doesn't like go into the studio for Big Finish stuff.
Right.
And then I know Tom Baker also just stays home, so like their characters have appeared in stories together, but I don't think they ever meet each other in person. I think
Wow. Okay.
Lala Ward was saying that like that she hasn't necessarily been trying to avoid him. They just never meet each other, but she's not sure if he's been trying to avoid her. So
Wow.
yeah, she was talking about how it's like ultimately once they weren't working together, they just realized they were very different people. So they just
Mm-hmm.
didn't go well together.
That's unfortunate.
And then she went on to get married a couple more times after that. I,
Life's
I,
complicated.
yeah. She's currently married, I think, to someone that works at like the University of Hong Kong, which is why she lives there. So
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
and then yeah, Tom Baker got married. His second wife is the one that he's still with at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, they've been together for a long time. Or I think that might actually be his third wife because I think he had kids before he was in Doctor Who. So I think Lala Ward
Oh,
was his
maybe.
second wife, and then now he's with his third wife. I might be
Okay.
mistaken about that though. But yeah, he had kids before he was in Doctor Who, and then I don't think his kids talked to him either. So
Oh, that's unfortunate.
yeah, I guess we should end our episode here. So
Probably. We got a bit long. We had a lot of extra
yeah,
stuff to talk about this time, considering we had a whole third episode and a companion leaving. So there's a lot to
yeah.
talk about here. But yes, we have gone a bit long.
So if you would like to join us on our journey here, we do have a Patreon where for $1 a month you can get access to our Discord and early access to episodes. And then for $5 you can watch live as we record. We'll have live text chat, and you can tell us that Ramon is actually a terrible companion and that you're glad that K9's gone. But for our next episode, we will be watching The Keeper of Traken, or Traken, I don't know how you pronounce that, and Logopolis, which are both four-parters. And in the first story, we will be meeting up with the Master again, where he will be his decayed form at the start of the story, and then by the end of the story, he will be played by Anthony Ainley, who is also in this story as a different character, and that's related to what happens with him, because he possesses a different character. And then he'll just be in that body for the rest of Classic Who. And then Logopolis is also a master story, and it's also Tom Baker's final story.
Yeah,
we're finally there at the end of the Fourth Doctor.
We are finally coming up at the end of the Fourth Doctor.
We've been watching him since November of last year. It's been like 9 months of the Fourth Doctor.
It has been almost a full year, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy to think we're already there. And then it's also the beginning of the tenure of Anthony Ainley as the Master, because he's kind of just a constant presence for the rest of Classic Who.
Yep. Yep.
I know fun. I think he shows up like maybe like once a season on average for the rest of Classic Who.
Something like that, I think. Something like that. I know he's pretty. He's nowhere near as consistent as Roger Delgado's Master, pretty much being in every story of an entire season. Nothing like that. Yeah. But he is kind of a constant. He comes around like every season or two. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, as a reminder, make sure to watch The Keeper of Traken and Logopolis for our next episode. You can find those on BBC iPlayer or the Doctor Who Classic YouTube channel or Tubi TV. And if you support us on Patreon for just $1 a month, get access to our Discord as well as early access to episodes. I've been Joy. You can find me on social media at Joy Content.
And I've been Triss. You can find me at ToonTriss.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.